Well, hello and welcome to Life Cafe. Hi, everybody. So good to see you guys. It's so exciting to see you. Life Cafe was birthed, let's say, at the very beginning of 2020 in March, when we first had the pandemic affecting our world and closing us down. And we actually put 3 up a week. 3. Why? Because we were all in our homes, right? And we needed a way to connect. And it was one of the most beautiful, and is one of the most beautiful platforms of community that we've had. And again, as our life goes, this journey that we're on in the collective of what we're seeing on the planet right now, it's kind of doing this and doing, it's such a great, important thing for us to be able to ground, connect, and be in this frequency. Always, but now more than ever. So I want to thank you for being here. And I know that it's one of my greatest enjoyments, but again, it really keeps me with my lenses on of my heart center, which allows me to be at peace. Now, it's not all day, every day, right? As we hear things and we're going on, but let's breathe into it. But it's this kind of frequency of love and community that is like air that I breathe. And I think for many of you as well. So it really, again, goes back to the perspective of 2 lenses that we look through always, and only 2. It's either going to be the very small, and there's no judgment here, but it's either going to be the small version of the mental ego based on, again, what we're seeing in, the fear base, the anger, the kind of in the trees, so to speak, or your heart wisdom, your all knowing, your higher self, which you can go above and look at things in a very different way. And when we talk about reacting or responding, we have a choice. So it's always about choosing. And I'm not saying this is easy, but I am going to share with you what I've learned. I am going to share with you what I use. And I am going to share with you the feedback from those that are leaving the planet. And they want us to know this, is that we have a choice. And when something happens in our lives, we can choose to respond to it or react to it. And reacting is that visceral, it's that ego, when you get triggered. And again, this is about the whole journey of life, learning. But when things are happening here, what a beautiful thing to be able to have tools, do them, be able to get in a grounded place, and be able to look at this from above a bit and respond. Much different than being, again, it's kind of like I think of an undertow. And this is a practice. And so this is something. So welcome to Life Cafe. This is one of the greatest communities that there is. It's all about love and support. And we know the world needs that more than ever right now. So this is your group. Sorry, I'm admitting people. Okay, this is your group. So we want to hear from you. How are you doing? And we want to hear the truth. There's no judgment here. This is about support. This is about using the best medicine we have, which is truly seeing and hearing people. And, this has not been easy time for a lot of people. I was like, okay, I saw my family on Thanksgiving. It was so exciting. I went on a plane. I saw my family for the first time in 2 years. And then boom, you hear like this, and it actually has that taking back to, I think, for a lot of us at the very beginning of what happened here. So let's really get grounded. And let's share and be in this present moment. And again, think how we can respond and contribute at this time and always. So who would like to start us off? And you can talk about anything you want. We're sending love out to absolutely everyone and everyone in the world at this time and always. But who would like to share what's happening in their part of the world, or any questions you may have about anything? You want to share about, yes, Karini. And again, you can talk about Thanksgiving, whatever you want. Hello, how are you?
Good morning. Good. I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Good. Okay.
Very nice.
Yes.
So I wanted to talk about an experience I had yesterday. I had my first Zoom slide presentation with a hospice here on Long Island.
Great.
Been waiting a long time for that presentation. I have a friend who's a social worker that works for that hospice, so she helped facilitate the presentation. So originally they had given me 15-20 minutes for the presentation, It ran for about 35 minutes. And I just hang up the phone with my friend. We touched base today because I really wanted to hear what what they really had to say after I left the meeting.
Sure.
So I was personally satisfied with my slide presentation. I had never done that. I created something I was happy with. And then I had a lot of questions from the vice president and the nurses. I mean, there's a lot of people there at their joint meeting and on Zoom that were part of my presentation. I told her today too, I said I knew I was going to have a few questions, but I was a lot. And she even said that she was surprised by the amount of questions they had. And they were rough.
In what way? Do you want to share some of that?
It was intense. Yes, it was intense. They had some, intense questions. They really wanted to know a lot about everything and what would you do in that situation and blah, 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 blah. It wasn't like being nice question. It was really in-depth question. And of course came the director of the program. I think she got offended, maybe not offended, but defensive about one of my slides was called, I labeled it how hospices can work with doulas. And I went about explaining a very nice word, how the gap that there is between hospice and because of Medicare and blah, 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 blah. And I said that very nicely. And so she came back on that at the end of the presentation, and you could see she was defensive. And my friend told me this morning, she said she was a little rough there. She told me that there is no such a thing in the hospice. They were there for, didn't matter what Medicaid or Medicare rule was. They were very attentive to their patients. They were spending as many hours as needed with them. It was not at all the case there. And of course, I heard today from my friend that it's not exactly the case. I mean, they do a lot, but it's somewhere in between. And I knew that, so of course I was like, oh, I don't mean to talk about your hospice. It's just in general what, people are saying and all that. So basically, yes, she said, my friend told me today that they're not against an end of life doula in general. There was a lot of questions, but where they are right now is that they're not sure where an end of life doula, where they would fit exactly within their team. Because she explained to me that from every detail I was able to, every information I was able to give them on what our role is and how we work with hospice and patients, and we wear different hats. She was telling me that they do all that already. They have the social worker, the chaplain, the volunteers. So they are not sure, and it's a non-for-profit organization also, so budget is tight. And she was saying it's not that they're against it, they're just not sure where the right fit would be within their team, because it seems like there's already someone in place for all the things that we could bring, all the extra. So
before, because there's so much here, because we've got to land this plane. This has got to be crystal clear, is that yes, we wear many different hats and they have the same thing. What they don't have is unlimited time. And that is critically important.
She did say that. She said, I guess we would not, even though they do have someone like a nurse on call 24/7, and they will go at 3 o'clock in the morning if they have. She goes, but it doesn't mean that they're going to be there for 24 hours.
Of course not. So there's a couple of things, Karini, that I really want to support you in this, because I've been there. And I've done the same thing. I remember when you started talking today, one of the presentations in Thailand to a hospital, they were intensely on me. You know what I mean? And this is like in another country. So we have to be very clear here, a couple of main pillars of what we want to talk about. So it's how we are very sensitive in sharing this. I always will say that it's nobody's fault, that no one's trying, everyone is working for the same goal. And doula givers are here to support the hospice team as the eyes and ears, to alert them, because we don't have time restrictions. So when I'm sitting with Mr. Miller and I can tell, wait a minute, he's different today, he's not able to really swallow his food, I can then ping the hospice team and they can come back and assess. That's critical to the care because it goes so fast. Remember, as a hospice nurse, I was there once a week for 1 hour if they were stable. There was a 24-hour on call. It just doesn't work. Now, some hospices, not many, by the way, maybe offer more hours and do it better, but everyone is strapped and held and trying to make that bottom line. Doesn't matter if you're profit or nonprofit. That has nothing to do with anything. Just means that the nonprofit goes back into the organization. The other thing that I want to share, and then I'm going to hand it over to you again, is that we actually don't fit into the organization. Doula givers actually do not fit in the organization. We complement, we support, but we should be independent contractors because it doesn't fit into a reimbursement guideline. You can't be a doula giver seeing 14 patients on a roster, or else you won't be effective. So now I'm going to hand it back to you because I just wanted to clarify some of those because these are the things that will come up. And one of the things that I'll share with you is the FAQ page from Doula Givers is one of the best things to memorize because those are the questions you're going to get. What is the difference between you and a hospice volunteer? What is it? We have hospice nurses. It has it all there. Does hospice, it's not a government licensure. So how is it regulated? Talking a bit about the NHPCO Council, talking a bit about NIDA. All of the questions, the major questions that I have gotten over the years is all in your FAQ page. But I understand. And I just want to share on the defense of the other side. I'm a hospice nurse, an oncology nurse, or, was active doing it. If somebody were to come in, and I'm not saying that anyone did this here, but I'm just saying I'm working 15 hours and I'm killing myself. If I walked into a room and they were like, where have you been? Like, why you're not doing a good enough job? I would be really defensive. So we got to make sure that we're not saying that. We're just saying that based on the structure of this insane medical reimbursement system, because the first thing I'll say is that when you put a dollar amount and you put a time limit on end of life, we're doing something wrong. And that's what the reimbursement structure has done. But the great news is death is not a medical experience. It's a human one. And we can have the time and the education to be the eyes and ears and support for not only the patient and family, but for the hospice team as well, that is doing such an amazing job. It has, so many patients in very limited time.
Yes, I did talk about the National End of Life Doulas organization. I did talk about a lot of, I brought a lot of those points that you were making. But today, in the hour conversation I just had with my friend, I think she understood a lot more because we had time. It wasn't pressing any agenda or, we really took the time. She told me that they really wanted to hear more about the program that I do, Doulagivers. So today I really took the time to explain to her what the program was, because there's a lot of programs out there and there's a lot of different programs out there too.
Yeah.
I have two friends here on Long Island, who just became doulas a few weeks ago. They went to a training in a yoga studio here on the island, and they were certified within a weekend. Very different. So I explained to her what the training consisted of, and she was like, "Oh, wow, okay."
Yeah, and that's another very important role that we're going to be making very clear moving forward. And I think there's wonderful training programs, but they're very different, and that's the danger. And so you actually have so much education within doula givers that it's a category on its own. So it's a death doula training, end of life doula within it, because you have lots of medical, and that really sets you apart as being a practitioner, being able to offer that service, than maybe somebody who will sit bedside, which is very beautiful and very important, but they're not the same. And it's not, and I'm not saying one is better than the other. It depends on what you're looking for, but it's a very important thing to be able to clearly articulate, again, when you're representing what you do, that you have a lot of that education, and it is really important that they know that.
Yeah. So it was, overall, it was a very good experience, I felt.
Yes.
And to hear the feedback, again, they're not against it. I think they need to understand more how it could work for them.
Yep.
So my next move, I think I am going to contact, I know there are some hospice who have their own program, or they have, I don't want to say their own program, but they work with End of Life Doulas.
Right.
So I would like to hear from them how they made it happen, because it can't be that there's hospices that are like, and others who are welcoming the idea of End of Life Doulas and working well with doulas.
So one of the things I think you have to be always, and this is just a really good tool, is getting very clear on what your intention is with anything that we do. So before you go into a talk, what's your intention? What do you want to accomplish in this talk, right? The other thing that I'm probably going to do a little bit more research on it, but from what I understand, the doula programs that are part of hospices right now, which I think is a wonderful thing, but was because there was such a buzz about doulas. There was out in the media, and families like, do you have doulas? And do you have doulas? And they were like, holy moly, we've got to get doulas, because that's, what families are expecting. And so what I gather has happened is that they're volunteers, but they have a doula title. So they kind of capitalize on being able to market that they're progressive and they have this, but it's not accomplishing the goal.
But not really. Yeah.
And I don't feel like it's more of and I think volunteers are so fantastic, but again, it's more of that sitting bedside and following that. So, it's kind of a little bit of a slippery slope there. So do your work. But what I would also say is that, think in terms about what you want to accomplish when you're sharing. And one of the things that I have found is that we have to be very clear that we would never, no one can ever, hospice is wonderful. It's a beautiful model of care. The people that do the work are incredible. No one's trying to replace them. Nobody's trying to, because that was very much at the very beginning, that was a big threat from them. Yeah. So just honoring that we want to complement, we want to fill in based on their hands are tied from the reimbursement. Karini, I'm so proud of you. Let's all give hearts and everything, because that was such a major thing.
Thank
and I will
you.
tell you that every time you do those things, you get better and better and better, because you learn. And it's kind of like, it's hard, right? So you've got to trust the fact that you are here to serve, and that you are representing all of these people out in the world that need support. And you're going to go in there and you're going to just get better and better, and just have an open heart, because I know what that's like. And I'm so super proud of you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So practice the FAQs, right? Think about some of the things we said. And I think, again, it's very important for you, whenever you go to do a presentation, what is your goal in doing that? Because that's going to direct, again, the energy and the flow. So if we know that I'm there presenting because I'm trying to let the hospice know that there are doula givers in the world that can complement the beautiful work that you do. Not that I want to join necessarily your organization, not that I want to replace your organization, but I want you to know that this is out in the world and this is happening. And how can we align? Not necessarily do I need to work for you, but how can we align? A much different approach.
I did that too. I did that. I tried to approach it to a different side. And I felt like I spoke about all that. But yeah, they were defensive. So we'll see. Trina and I are doing another presentation the 12th in front of in a church setting. for all the parishioners of the church. So that will be a lot different, because I think it would be more education on what is an end of life doula and what we could provide for the people. So we'll be working on that presentation soon.
Amazing. Kudos to you for getting out there and doing it. So proud of you and wonderful work. Yeah. Okay, we have a lot of hands that went up here, and I'm not sure in what order they went. I am so sorry. So let's do, I think it was Christine, then Carol, then Judy, then Luna. And I'm so sorry if I'm wrong about that. All right, Christine.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
It's getting warm here in Boise. I'm getting used to the cold. I've been here about 3 or 4 months now, and I'm so fired up about End of Life.
Me too.
Me too. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I keep seeing posts. I haven't really been on Facebook too much lately, but I see posts just keep reminding me that I'm on the right path. And so I didn't realize I was manifesting this until it's like I had no idea why I would end up in Boise. But here I am, and I just landed the most amazing job as a hospice nurse. That wasn't my intention, but I needed to make money, and I wasn't sure if I would physically be able to do this, but it is perfect. It's working out perfect. And I feel like this hospice company, I feel like I was divinely guided to this hospice company, because I think that they're an exception.
Yep.
This particular one, if anyone is in the Boise area, I'll give a little toot horn for Keystone Hospice. And it is, they're doing good work. They're doing the stuff that you're teaching us. They're doing it, and the owners of the company are they're like, I don't care how much time you need to spend with the patient, you just do it. And I think that's an exception to the rule. And so I had just some amazing experiences this last weekend. I'm an on-call nurse weekends, and I've had amazing opportunities for learning. And I just wanted to share 2 quick things. One of them was a woman who was actively passing, and I got to spend some time with her daughter. And her daughter was telling me this woman has had Alzheimer's for 7 years, and this woman was telling me how much she loved John Wayne. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. She had like a full life-size cardboard cutout of John Wayne in this woman's bedroom. And I was like, oh my gosh, my mom had Tom Selleck. So I felt like we bonded, right?
Yep.
So I'm walking to this training, and all of a sudden that I see at this community training, and I see a cardboard of John Wayne in someone's office.
Wow.
And I'm like,
wow.
That's, to me, I know people might think I'm weird, but I think you guys are going to get this. This is like, I keep getting signs of like, you're on the right path, you're on the right path, you're on the right path. So I'm just like feeling so blessed to be of service, and I'm getting to just like, I have never felt more alive. So I just want to thank everybody, because I really feel like everything that I've learned in the past year and a half has led me to this point. And I met my first potential doula client yesterday. And so it's happening. And I felt really good about making, like, I went to the administrator of the hospice company that I work for, and I wanted to be very clear about the lines being blurred about what this is going to look like. They offer Reiki, and they offer all sorts of complementary therapies and stuff like that. So I feel like this is a potential for a great relationship, and I feel super blessed. So I just want to thank everybody. I know I haven't been connected with you guys most recently, but I'm doing it. So thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So thank you. So I want to highlight when she said, I've never felt more alive. Stay with that for 1 second, because that is priceless. That is priceless. And that's exactly how I felt when I started working for hospice. What? The irony there. I'm working with people at the end of life, and I never felt more alive, more connected, more on point with my purpose. It was incredible. And then the other thing that Christine said that's so important is that, and I want you to really hear this, when you can't see the next step, but you're being called forth to it, that's where the magic happens. And when you trust in taking that step, that's where everything will open up to you, because it's that faith, it's that trust in a whole different frequency. So when she's saying, you know, I wasn't planning on being a hospice nurse, but I was brought to this and I feel like there's reasons for it, so I did it. Yes, exactly. And I'm going to write something about this, but I never had any end of life experience. And I kept being called to hospice, called to hospice. It made no sense. If I had never trusted that and acted on that, none of this would exist. So it was that taking that chance to just believe in whatever's calling me forth, because I felt it in my body, to trust in that. That's where your magic will happen. So when you show up to be of the highest service, the universe will present opportunities and open doors. It is so beautiful. Christine, love it. And do not worry about being plugged in with this group all the time. You are in another plane, by the way, but we need to know when to take time, sit back, do it all, and then come back into it. No judgment, all perfect. I love it. Carol.
Hi, I'm Carol and I'm from Northern Virginia.
Hello.
And I have a question that I hope is not ignorant, but people die without hospice, like with long-term illnesses. Am I correct?
Well,
I mean, I know that not everybody uses hospice, and I'm just wondering how we fit in. Are there patients going through, you know, end of life, and you know, maybe they're not using hospice, they don't have insurance, or whatever that may be? Does that happen?
Very, very infrequently, very infrequently. So two things will happen there is that one, you'll be called in and you'll say, this person needs hospice. So you'll help the family to make that bridge. And again, many people are in hospice for just a few days. It's very sad. The second thing is if somebody's in that predicament and they're so sick, they'll go to the hospital. So very rarely is it ever somebody, and it's a whole different ball game if that happens. So if somebody dies that's unexpected or not on hospice, like even if they have a long-term illness, you know, it's the medical examiner, it's a whole different array. So it very rarely happens, but think about it just from a symptomatic point of view. If somebody is that ill, they need medical care. And even if they don't have insurance, they can still go to the hospital, and many hospitals are required to take them in, as all of them should be. So you might be that person who says, we really need to do something here. And many times we are, because of the denial of death and support. So yeah, very, very minimal.
I just thought about what a disaster that would, not disaster, but just how awful that would be if they were dealing it without hospice. And I just was unsure how all that worked out. So thank you for answering my question.
I love that. But Carol, you just said something so important for all of us, is that, you know, we need to be bringing death back into the natural fold of life, because when we do, we don't get caught in these kind of scenarios of denial. And I want to share with you one phone call I got a couple of years ago from a nurse who I had worked with in the hospital. Her father had congestive heart failure and had come from Florida, and all of a sudden he took a turn and she needed hospice. She said, he's going to die tonight, right? And hospice wasn't answering their phone. It was 4:30. They were done for the day. Do not. And this is a nurse. This is a nurse. So we've got to, that's why these community education support before people need it, letting them know what hospice does, letting them know where to reach out to, so we don't find that space where it's so tragic. And it's tragic to me that we come in for a few days and basically put Band-Aids on, and the whole thing is really a train wreck. So thank you, Carol.
You're welcome.
Good awareness. Judy, then Luna, then Karen.
Hi there.
Hey.
So I just wanted to, I just had a comment on kind of piggybacking on what you were saying, how some hospices are starting to say they have doulas on staff and they're volunteers.
Mm-hmm.
So that's sort of what's happening with the hospice that I volunteer for right now.
Yeah.
The conflict is that because we're volunteers, so they tell you that you're a doula, so to speak, but because we're volunteers, we fall within the volunteer restrictions. So a lot of times there are things that we see, want to say, want to do, give advice,
Of
but
course.
we're volunteers, or make suggestions, but we're volunteers, so we can't. So your hands are really tied. So
Right.
it's frustrating.
Judy, I'm wrapping
Yeah.
you in a big hug right now, because thank you for that confirmation. And again, there's never judgment in anything that we talk about, but we have to be very honest and make clear observations so we can see how we can support people. So again, I think that just goes into them wanting to use the doula word and get kind of that PR and, ooh, we have doulas, but it's not the doula role.
It isn't.
And so we love our volunteers and they're wonderful, but again, it's a very limited space that they're allowed to provide care and input and all of that. So I want to just thank you for that. And so again, I want to just say that doulas are really not supposed to be within the organization. I don't see how it can work unless they had a ton of money where they're paying you separate, and none of them are going to do that. I don't think anyone would do that. And also I've seen a doula where they hired one resident doula for a hospice and she had 12 patients. What are you doing?
You can't do it.
You can't
Right.
do it. And plus you do need to pretty much stick to the guidelines as a volunteer. So I thank you for that. And I do think that the more awareness that we create out in the communities for this new role, it's going to complement the hospice. And always you want to give credit and you always want to defer everything to that wonderful medical team that's there. But they're there in very limited time amounts and they need to know when there's an issue. And those are big things.
You know, it's true. And I see the nurses, coming in when I'm in with my patients,
Yeah.
and, they're all really nice and they are all trying really hard, but you can tell they're just really rushed to kind of check off on their iPad. They saw the patient, all the checks on body mass and so forth, all the things that they need to do. And then they're out the door because they have someplace else to be.
Yeah. So sad, tragic about a few things there is that number one, it trickles from the top down, but number two, presence. And we talk about presence being your best medicine. So if you're a nurse and you're walking in and your head is thinking, and I don't blame anyone, thinking about the 10 people or the 10 things you've got to do in the phone calls, you're not even really present with that patient. And that's such a valuable, beautiful time because you're their window to the outside world, right? This family has an end of life going on. You're coming to see them. And if you're checked out and busy, even for that hour, how sad is that for everybody? So at my hospice, when they implemented that you needed to document on your visit, they said, you need to flip up your laptop and do the documentation on your visit. I said, I'm not going to do it. And they said, okay, you have 24 hours to get it in. So I was at my kitchen table till 2 a.m. documenting every night. And that's, of course, when the doula development and all of that happened, thank God. But I would not do that to my patient who relies on this hour for me. And plus, how much can you learn from someone by truly seeing and being tapped into them? I used to be able to look at a patient and know if something was going to happen from their coloring, from their face coloring, from the way that they looked at me. That, there's a lot going on there. So again, no judgment, but it's not going to fit. The answer is not going to happen within the organization. I don't see that at all. So thank you, Judy.
You're welcome.
We're going to keep doing our community outreach and it's all going to happen. Yes, ma'am.
I do have,
I'm sorry.
hopefully, I have hopefully what will be a quick question on how a most form works. So I had an issue with a patient that I was volunteering for who was very sick man. He had an extreme disformity of cancer on his face that was never treated. And by the time he actually got into hospice, I have never seen anything like this. It was literally half of his face. I mean, not to be too graphic, was gone. And one day I went last week to see him at the nursing home, and he had been transferred to a hospital. And they said the reason that he was because his healthcare proxy refused to sign the most form so that he wouldn't be transferred, and refused to sign a form to give him pain medications. So he was at the point at the nursing home where he was in so much pain, they had no choice but to transfer him to a hospital. And I'm just not I'm not quite sure how that happened or why that happened.
Well, I'm not either. And I'm not happy about this situation at all. So one of the things is your question is about a most form, or was it a most form?
They said it, the reason that they weren't treating him at the nursing home or couldn't was because his healthcare proxy refused to sign the most form.
Okay, got it. Because, well, let me just, so is this man of clear sound mind?
I would say no, he wasn't.
Okay. All right. This is where you all come in to be advocates, okay? And you have got to know why we're doing this, to advocate and to not come in with judgment. But in this situation, there's always supposed to be 2 healthcare proxies on something. And if somebody is not doing the right thing by a patient, that needs to be addressed. And I'm really sorry, but it should have been addressed by the people who knew this person was in pain, the nursing home people, but they don't have time to do it. They really don't have time to get involved. Maybe there's a social worker, but again, we can't let these things go by. People are suffering. So there's always 2. And also I would personally say to this healthcare proxy, why do you believe that? That, you know, this person's really suffering. And if it is not aligned with your belief systems, please step out of this scenario, because you've got to remember that a healthcare proxy is speaking your wishes that you've decided, not making choices for you. There's a huge difference there. And I get upset because I've seen patients that are in so much pain and they don't need to be. And it's like, what's happening here? So coming from a place of love, we've got to be, you doulas have to be advocates for these type of scenarios and really get to the root of it, because we can't go backwards. So is this currently going on, Judy? Where are we with this?
No, well, he was transferred to a hospital. So this happened the Friday before Thanksgiving week.
Mm-hmm.
And the hospital got him comfortable. So I guess that was a good thing. They dressed his wound, which had been undressed for most of the time that he was in the hospital. I mean, most of the time that he was at the nursing home. It was just really, really upsetting to me. And it was one of those situations where if I had been his doula, I would have been, what the heck is going on here? I was able to find him, because if you're a volunteer with hospice, once a patient goes off of hospice, which he did because he went into the hospital, then you're not supposed to have any more contact. But I could not do that. So I was resourceful, and I found out what hospital he was in. And I went to visit him every day until he passed away. But it was just so upsetting. And I don't understand how it happened or why it happened.
Okay, so a couple of things super important here. First of all, doulas can follow the patient when they go on services, off of services, right? You can't as that hospice employee, but doulas have that continuity. The second thing, it's so important for you to hear this, is that doctors, for better or for worse, can trump the orders in an advance directive. It's not a legal document. A most form is, but an advance directive that says no pain and the healthcare proxy doesn't want to do it, a doctor can come in and say, and it sounds like they did in the hospital, this person's in pain, I'm giving them medicine. So that is a beautiful thing. And you all have to know these real truths within it so that you can advocate properly. But like you said, we've got to be ahead of this. And it's very upsetting. And I'm sorry, because it reminds me of a patient that I had that was literally in a home, and I came in to visit him and he was like pacing, crying, in so much pain. It was so disastrous. And do you know why I had all the pain medication orders? Is because the home that he was in, they needed an RN to distribute PRN medications, and they didn't want to pay for an RN to be in that home where he was at. So he was in such pain, and I got that administrator on the phone. And let me tell you, I was very professional, but I was crystal clear, and I could have had that whole place shut down and in so much trouble. Well, they changed that right away. So we've got to really just advocate and kind of understand the whole dynamic. But at the end of the day, we've got to get the results for people that they need, or as best that we can. Thank you for following that person. That's beautiful, Judy. And that's a teaching story that you've got right there for all of us.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Luna, and then Karen.
Hi, everyone.
Hey.
So, the last time I spoke to you, there was a patient that
Mhm.
was 50, and one of my doula clients, and her son was 17. So she had been like unconscious, but then she woke up and said some things to me. And then the day that we spoke, she passed that day. So it was the son's birthday. So it was kind of bittersweet for the son, because he wanted her to stay for the birthday, but then now she's, passed on his birthday. So, and my mother passed on the 4th of July. So we kind of talked about that. So it was one of her favorite holidads. So it's like, well, I'm sure that was one of her favorite holidays too. So
Yeah.
he saw it in a different light. But, based on, what we do and how we start and approach this, it's a business, but it's a spiritual connection as well. And we know that, we understand that. So in the morning, I always try to intention. And just a week ago, so that client had passed away. And then I always intention, like, connect me, source, to the best people, and the people that need to be connected with me and that I need to be connected with, so we can make a difference in each other's life. It's a two-way street. It's not just I'm helping them, or, we're helping each other, because this is so life-changing. Just from that one patient passing, I have 3 new clients, and one, like, they're really interesting cases, but one lady has been in hospice since 2011. So the husband's been caring for her for all these years. And, they called me as a last resort, because he's tried everything, and she's in hospice right now. But they called me and he's like, I don't know, somebody said you do Reiki and this and that. So I took the call, and I went and started working for them. And, she's had no talking at all or anything. Then I went and I did Reiki on her, and then I did the sound healing, and she started talking, but her eyes were closed, and they're like, we haven't seen this for 5 years. So it was just so beautiful to see. And I felt really bad for the husband, because that's a long time. And but beyond what we want, there's a higher source that's telling us, like, okay, no, this is what is for your life. And when we open up to that, so many synchronicities happen. And for that husband to be at the end of his rope, but then to say, okay, I'm gonna try Luna as a last resort. And it was just it's just so amazing. And I'm always so amazed how even and I was a caregiver for my parents, so I understand, like, oh, you haven't showered, or like, oh, let's see, like, did I eat yet? It's 5 p.m. You're doing like so many things. And then I was working full time. So, and this man was still working. So it's kind of like things occur, and it's like, it teaches us something if we're open to learning. And there's always an opportunity to learn something. We don't know it all. I don't know it all. No, like, I'm always ready to learn more till the day I die. So,
Yeah.
but that was really interesting. And then this other patient that I have, he's 93. He's had cancer 4 times and survived. His love of his life passed away 10 years ago, and he just wants to go. And, when I was brought in, the family didn't want me there. And one of the people got referred to me. So the daughter, and she's like, I just need to meet with you. Like, we can't even go to coffee. Let's just go in your car and talk so nobody hears me in the family. And I was like, okay, let's do it. My car's an office too. So, she was on board, and she's like, I don't even know what you do. I don't really understand. But somebody said to give you a call. And I came in and I did the Reiki on him. He agreed. He's like, yeah, whatever, and but these people aren't open to it. But when I come in, and it's not like, oh, I'm pressing this agenda on them. It's like, no, it's your agenda. Like, what do you need? What do you want? And they're like, what? because everybody comes in here and tells us what we need to do. Like some lady come in and said, oh, we need to change this bed. We need to do this. We need to do that from hospice. And I work with hospice too. So, but this, I've been working with them for a week now, and the dynamics of the family were like totally like they wouldn't even talk to each other. And now they're at least acknowledging each other.
Yeah.
So I see not just working with the dying patient, but it's healing the family too, because
Of course.
I didn't press it on them. I just said like, oh, well, what did you do for this? That, you know, they're not going to do anything for Thanksgiving. And I was like, well, your dad's still here. And have you asked him? Nobody had asked him. I'm like, maybe ask him what he wants. He wanted pizza. I'm like, give the guy pizza, give him whatever he wants, you know? So it's like, and then I touched base with them. I went by last night and they were like, you know, it's, you know, like these childhood traumas that are like coming out now, and they never addressed it. And now they're like acknowledging one another. I said, you know, we're not two anymore. We're adults. And this is a healing that can happen before your father passes. So they were really open, and it was just, you know, I was happy to be a part of it. And it's just, you know, I just said, you know, source, put me where I need to be. And it happened. So it's been a blessing. And each time, each case is different. And I really noticed that that what's occurring is the family. I'm like connecting the families so they can heal too.
Well, doulas take care of the patient and the loved ones and the family.
Yeah.
This is the window. This is the space that it's going to happen or not. And again, it's not our agenda, but it's here to create that environment of holding that love with no judgment, with meeting people where they are, with giving them back control that creates that trust that can really move this magic. So one of the things too is that it's so simple, yet it's counterintuitive to our egos, is to just show up to be of service. Just say, how can I show up to be of the highest service? Period. Just let it come in. You know, not try to figure it all out. So I always say, don't push, flow. And so the universe will show you, oh, you want to be of service? Perfect. Because we've got this person and this person, and it's just really divinely beautiful. So again, your pillars of practice, no judgment, have an open heart to be of the highest service and meet people where they are in their journey, and watch the magic. I just have one quick question. What was the diagnosis of the woman who's been on hospice since 2011?
It was dementia, and then it turned into Alzheimer's.
Okay. Yeah. So that's one that people usually come on and off, and it's a very hard one to keep people on. So, you know, remember that dementia has a very different pathway with end of life than the other disease processes. So one of the telltale signs of them going into transition is dramatic weight loss. Yeah. So that's really where you can benchmark it. So that's just something I want to share. So
she was 75 pounds. So
yeah,
she was already starting to model, and then she passed on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So yeah.
Thank you so much for that. So much there, and you do so much beautiful work. So thank you for that service. All right, we have time for, I think, one more. Karen. Hey, Karen, how's your new home?
Oh, my new home is wonderful. Every day's a blessing. Every day in this new space is such a blessing. And my cat is happy, and I'm happy.
You know, if your cat is happy, I'm telling you, like, the animals know energy, right? And again, I didn't think I was relocating. I mean, you know, is the world. My dog was so super happy here. Like when she comes in, I was like, that is really something. Me, I'm still figuring it all out, but it's okay. We like the animals to be happy. And of course, every day is a gift.
She's 17, and it's as if she's a kitten now. She's up there.
Wow. And she's like a kitten now. Fabulous. I love it.
It's great. Yeah. So I was reading a passage yesterday. I pull oracle cards every morning, and I always get messages. And yesterday I was reading about a card that was called Ritam, which is rhythm. And it was talking about the owl, and how the owl, when it flies through dense forests, flies through tight spaces, flies through open spaces.
Yep.
And that the way that it flies, it's not even on a path. It flies with the territory.
Yeah.
It flies with
It
the
flows.
landscape.
It
Yeah.
flows.
And so that stuck with me. It's just it's been ringing for the past couple of days because that's what we do.
Yes.
We fly with the landscape. We say, how can I help today?
Yes.
And just let it come, receive it.
Yeah.
And so what's been coming up for me, I think I'm on a covert mission
Okay.
to do something with hospice.
Okay.
On the inside. We set up, Visiting Nurse Service set up a caregiver listening call system where those of us who are in it, we call a caregiver. And I have a caregiver that I've been talking to for the past month or so. I had 2 caregivers. And what I've been able to use are those 3 questions.
Yep.
And I've been able to assess non-safety for the caregiver in terms of one of the caregivers, she was living in the house with her mom. The actual person who was in charge, the primary caregiver, lived in New Jersey. But this daughter lived upstairs, had all kinds of health issues. And so who were they going to call when mom needed help? They were going to call the daughter in the same house. So I was able to assess safety issues, the need for additional help, the need for more conversation in my report. And so they got extra help, and the daughter is now going for her own, she's taking care of her own health. Now, there's another caregiver that I've been talking to who I'm almost working as a teledoula.
Yep.
Because I ask her how her mom is and what it looks like. And we've been assessing various situations. And the same thing in my report, I'll explain things that come up for her and then what happens. And there have been changes because her mom was complaining of pain. The nurse at the nursing home said there was nothing there that her mother should have been feeling pain. And maybe she wasn't really feeling pain at all. So I wrote that in my report, and they sent a hospice nurse to visit, and they found the bed sore. They found the bed sore. They got the air mattress.
There it is.
Yeah.
The eyes and the ears and the time that you're able to provide and say something's not right here. I'm hearing, I'm seeing, and I want to share this with the medical team so that they can really come back and take a look and change it. That is what a doula does.
Yeah. And then she said to me, she just last week, she said she went to visit her mom and she asked her mom if she was comfortable. And her mom said, yes, I'm comfortable. And she said, but I don't believe her. So I said, well, you believed her when she said she was in pain. Can you believe her when she says she's comfortable? And she said, oh, that's deep. So it's like, you can't presume someone else's experience. If they're explaining their experience,
that's right.
Then accept it and observe, just accept and navigate the landscape, and so
what are you getting, like when somebody's in pain? I mean, I've had my patients lie to me multiple times, not because they're trying to be mean, but whatever they needed to do. And I'm like, okay, but you're completely wincing in pain, but you're saying you don't have any pain. So love them, but like we can explore a little bit more. So Karen, I love that.
Yeah. And I was on a webinar about Hospice 101 because I wanted to review.
Yeah.
And so my question at the end was, so is Visiting Nurse Service considering maybe having some sort of a partnership with End of Life Doulas? So I and the woman who was in it, she said, we're thinking about it. We just don't know how it will work.
So that actually is more in alignment to be with an organization because not necessarily just the visiting nurses, but like companion care companies and people who do home care, because a lot of that is self-pay and can be incorporated. And this is a concierge kind of department of doula work. Again, you need the education, but I do want to highlight your tele-doula comment. How effective it is. And then I want to go back to Luna, who, not everyone was on board in the family. So she had a meeting in her car. This is exactly why teledoula is so very effective, because there may be people, and usually are, that are not all on the same page in that environment. And there's so much stress that you can teledoula with that caregiver from the privacy of phones and texting. I've texted through vigils all of the time. What is happening? It is so highly effective that teledoula is going to be something, obviously right now with our world changing so much, to be able to add that support when you're not physically able to be places, but it's here to stay and it's very effective.
It is. I have a client now. I actually have my first real client. Not that the others
Yes.
weren't real, but I had a Zoom with her. I
Yes.
think my purpose, my navigating is going to be with the daughter, because the daughter lives in Oregon. Her mother is here.
That's
Her
right.
mother is very resistant to hospice, but she's in rapid decline.
Yes.
So I'm just in the process of listening. There are cousins on the West Coast that are saying, don't push hospice. But there's a most form. The daughter is very pragmatic. She has a funeral home. She has a cantor. We found people that she can have in her group to rely on as things, because she doesn't know what's going to happen.
For sure.
You know, so she's leaving Tuesday, she thinks. So we're just keeping it open in terms of what's going on. She's got two doulas here on the East Coast, and we'll be covering, you know, when she goes back to Oregon. The plan is that the mom agreed to move to Oregon because that's where the whole family is.
Yeah.
In January.
Yeah.
But January is a long way away. So just like that, and that whole, the owl thing, it just keeps coming up. It's like, okay, what's today? What's here today? What's the landscape? Let's fly with it. Fly with the landscape.
Karen, beautiful. And I'd like to use that as our closing intention and vision and kind of prayer, because our world is so complicated at this moment, this journey. And it's very easy and we're all human and we're all a part of it, to just be so sad about when you see people in pain and when you just arguing and all of the unknowns. So let's just do what she said about flowing. And also let's just take one day at a time. You know, people say take one day, but if you treat each day like one little lifetime, and you have your intention for that day to be of service, to be present, to be grateful. Gosh, what a great way that is to live, right? And to find those moments of joy for you, sitting in the sun or listening to some music. You've got to feed that soul, because if not, you're going to get it swept away with that current that's happening out there that can be, you know, very intense and very fearful. We get it. So let's take that owl, let's be that owl, and let's really wake up each day with that intention to be grounded, to be present, and to be grateful and of service however we can. So let's bring that into our prayer. And right now, I really want to ask you again to really put out as much energy as you can for healing for the world. There's so much going on, as we know. A lot of us, you know, maybe thought that, hey, we are kind of in a different place right now. And I think we still will be. Don't let fear hijack you. Don't let fear of what we can't control or the unknown hijack you from yourself. You know, really, there's so much there. So one of the things, and again, there's no judgment here, is limit how much maybe news you see, or how much, you know, conversation. And Facebook is another thing. Social media is another. It can be a good thing for connecting. It can also be a quicksand and a dangerous thing as well. So make sure that you are connecting and taking care of you every single day. All right, we're going to bring in our meditation. We're going to send out the love to ourselves and then to the world. If you feel comfortable, you can close your eyes. We're going to do 3 deep breaths. You're going to breathe through your nose like you're smelling a beautiful flower. I was taking a walk with my dog last night. The smell of the tree, it was so magical. I was like, what is happening? It's so beautiful. Really try and tap into nature and being present. And so right now we're going to breathe in. We're going to hold for a few seconds and we're going to let it go. Here we go. Breathe in, hold, and let it go. Breathe in and hold and let it go. And breathe in and hold and let it go. And we are going to let go of anything and everything that is not serving our highest consciousness. Any worry, any fear, any anxiety, let it go. And now we imagine that we are outside and the clouds part and the sun is so bright right above your head. Your eyes are closed, but you see orange and yellow. And now you feel the warmth of that sun as it's coming right above the top of your head. Opening the top of your head, you may feel some tingling at the top of your head as it opens up the top of your head and now is pouring into your body beautiful, golden, loving light. It is bathing you. It's like the warmest hug, the best feeling of connection, of joy, of peace. And now this beautiful light is going down your spine, washing away anything that's in your chakras or your energy field that is not, again, serving your highest consciousness. It's going down through your root chakra and going into the center of the earth, because we are all connected to Mother Earth. Let her heal you. Let her take your worry from you. Sit outside, go under a tree, deep breathe, and give your worry, your care, anything that's on your mind to Mother Earth. She is there to assist you to take that from you, just like a mother would. Swirling around the center of the earth, coming back up your root chakra, up your spine, and again, bursting through the top of your head to that high sun. You're now fully aligned in this golden loving light. As it comes back down, it's expanding about 6 feet from your physical body, bathing all of your aura. All of your cells are now again in this loving golden light. Going down your spine, washing all of your chakras, going through your root chakra to the center of the earth. Now as it's swirling around, it's picking up momentum in the center of the earth. And as it comes back up, we are going to send it out with intention through our heart chakra. If you feel called, you can put your hands on your heart chakra. And as this light comes back up now, we're going to send it out with intention to each and everyone in this group and then to the world. Here it comes, as it comes bursting out of your heart chakra, swirling around. Here it is, swirling around each and every one of you. Beautiful, heart-centered love connection of the highest frequency. In this moment, there are no worries. There is no fear. There is joy. There is connection. You can do this. You can tap in with tools anytime you want in the day. It is a choice. Now this light is swirling around each and every one of you. We're going to expand it out further to your loved ones and family members. Now we're going to expand this light further to your community members, meeting every person where they are with no judgment. We are all connected. What's happening to you is happening to all of us. We need to be showing up for one another. We're not here to fix it, but we are here to have compassion and kindness and presence for one another. We're going to expand this light further out. Picture the state and or province that you live in your mind's eye, and surround that state or province in a golden bubble of light. Please take the country that you live in your mind's eye, and surround it in a golden bubble of light. Now, please take the Earth globe in your mind's eye and surround it in a golden pyramid that every being, that every element, that every animal, that every part of nature is sent and feels this loving golden light. We see you, we hear you, and we are with you. And please remember that there are so many people that on top of the intensity of this life's journey at this moment are going through added trauma, added challenges. Please remember that we are here together, and let's always be sending out as much love as we can with every breath we take and with every beat of our hearts. Set the intention to send love. Please add in anyone or anything that you would like this group intention sent to specifically at this time. When it gets heavy for you, step away take some time to ground and go above and be able to look at it with a response, not a reaction. So just know that you have control of that and you can use those tools every single day to take care of yourself. And you're the only one that can do it for you. So life is heavy and it is hard. Step away, give yourself what you need, and be able to rise above and to look at it from that different perspective. It'll be just what you need to, again, recalibrate and ground. Please take a deep breath into that. And we want to give incredible thanks to everyone for showing up to be of service at this time, an incredible community of light workers that are here, and that we need you so very much. And thank you so very much for honoring that calling. And we always want to give gratitude and thanks for being part of the journey. And we always want to ask how we can see, hear, and know how we can show up to be of the highest service today and every day. Breathe in. And when you are ready, you can open your eyes and come back into the room. Throw up some hearts if you'd like, everyone. Thank you so very much. I am surrounding you all with so much love. We're here, we've got this, we're here together, and that is how everything is going to always be okay. If you need anything from us, please let us know. Post in the Facebook group. You can message me, email. I love you all so very much. Have a fantastic day, everybody, and we'll see you soon. Mwah.